Hello everybody and welcome to the Algarve here for IFWL LMU and welcome for round 3. This is going to be an interesting event here. Drivers currently doing practice at the moment, 3.5 minutes left to go, and this is what the standings are looking like at the moment. And well, hello everybody, welcome everyone. How are you guys doing today? So it's currently De Gore in the Aston Martin Valkyrie 009 leading the line in Hypercar. In GT3, Boris Jensen in first place, followed by Christian Fablim, who's currently out on track and currently setting a lap time. Let's see if he can improve. No, he's on his out lap, I believe, so he'll continue on. But 2.5 minutes, and then it will be qualifying, where GT3s will go out first, and then hypercars. It's structured like that. Drivers in LMU, while the active 24 hours of Le Mans is currently getting underway as well. And we saw Felix Al-Shaif won last week's race at MONZA. He's currently now 54 thousandths away from De Gore. De Gore and the Aston Martin will look to want to maybe go up onto the podium this time. I believe last week he just missed out on the podium, couldn't overtake third place. And he's currently ahead of the race winner in MONZA. Algarve, a very tough circuit indeed. A lot of places like in this corner, Samsung corner, where you can lose a lot of traction no matter what class you're in, hypercar or GT3s alike. As Lapare in the Ford Mustang 47, cars aren't rendered in since he joined later than me, but those will be rendered in as soon as we get into qualifying. We also have Arturas Yogba for the 72 Porsche locking up into turn 2. And he'll want to make an impression in today's race as well. Let me just increase the volume slightly. So 35 seconds left to go on the clock now, and qualifying will begin very shortly. And now 0 seconds left on the clock here. Yellow flags, that's for drivers stopping out on track. It's just Arkina crossing the line at the final moments to get ahead of De Gore by 1.4 seconds on the leaderboard, 1:33.7. There's currently 6 cars per class here as we get ready for qualifying. Let's have a look at what the forecast is looking like at the moment. It's going to be dry throughout qualifying. A full on sunny day here at the Algarve. And as mentioned, GT3 is out first. Egan in the McLaren exiting out of the pit lane very, very soon. The clock will run down in a few seconds, and there it does. The McLaren will get out first, and then Fablim in the Porsche will come out second out of the pit lane. The number 10 McLaren will want to do better than he did last week. He was sent tumbling through Curva Grande at Monza and DNF'd from the race. So hopefully that won't happen again. A mid-engined car around this track should be good around the medium speed corners. And well, there's quite a few around here at the Algarve. Evening. Hello everybody. So Alex Egan out on track, Christian Fabreem second on the road, Mike Johnson in the Lexus, the light blue or cyan Lexus 239, and then right behind him the Aston Martin, the Heart of Racing 27 of Paul Mackie, and Boris Jensen in the Ben WRT. Six drivers in GT3. They'll all want to make an impression in qualifying. And it will be Alex Egan now heading towards the final corner. It's not quite flat out in these GT3s, but sure, it is a roller coaster. It goes downhill and then back uphill to the start-finish line. And heading down towards the first corner. Let's actually go on board with the McLaren. It's a fast turn one relatively, and heading down into turn two where it's a hairpin. You have to compromise the exit to try to set up the corner into this uphill left-hander. It's blind through here, you can barely see, and it's very possible to go out wide. Heading down towards the hairpin now. Hairpin braking zone downhill, get the best exit possible. And then one of the more trickier corners around the circuit is right here, uphill and easy to lose traction. A lot of drivers have done so, both in public lobbies and in private, but he's gone through that with ease. Uphill, and then the braking zone is just over the crest. You can take multiple lines through this corner now as we head in towards turn 12. It's a wonderful corner that, into turn 13, one of the final hairpins of this racetrack. The other one is right after. Saglis, turn 14, and taking a bit of grass along with him, exiting out onto the final corner now. Galp, turn 15, downhill, uphill, yellow flags for Lapare. And the tyres squealing, trying to get that extra bit of traction. And he'll come across the line. And what will the lap time be? The benchmark is a 1:46.488. Christian Fabreem, next one to come across the line. He set the fastest Sector 1, personal best Sector 2. Can they beat out the McLaren? And he does. It's a 1:45.333. He goes quickest. Mike Johnson now through the final corner now. He'll want to put a leaderboard setting time. And it will be the Cyan Lexus with a 1:53 benchmark. Paul Mackie across the line now. Followed up by the BMW very quickly, as Jensen now goes quickest. Paul Mackie in 5th place. Jensen, 39,000 split. Fabreem and him. Provisional pole position belongs to Boris Jensen. Lapare now starts his first flying lap of the session in the 47 Mustang. Lepare through the fast left-hander, uphill braking zone, just over the crest. Lepare setting 2 personal best sectors now. And now downhill through the final corner. Lepare will set his first flying lap. As Johnson comes across line with 48.354. Lepare comes across the line. Jensen yellow flags. Lepare going up into 5th place. What's happened to Boris Jensen? Yellow flags were set. And we'll see all this replays. And it's just slow at the moment. And just stopping out on track on a momentary basis. Fabry not improving in the first sector. 1/10 down. A slight improvement in the second sector, but he's got to make it up in the final one. 39 thousandths, remember, split between Jensen and Fabry, and he's abandoned this lap time. Alex Egan invalidated in the second sector. This lap time won't count, he'll have to go again. 3 minutes left to go in GT3. Mike Johnson, cumulatively a bit down, but he can make it all up in the third sector. Currently needs 7 attempts to beat out Egan. And Johnson will come across the line. And it is a 149.405. He stays in 4th place. Then Lepare comes across the line with 48.978. It is a personal best, but doesn't improve in position. Fabry in the pits. He won't continue any further. Not enough time to go out on an outlap and try again. Who's that coming across the line now? Boris Jensen. Jensen, can he extend his current provisional pole lap time to be even further away from Fabry? And he goes even quicker. A personal best, sector 1, the fastest sector 3 at 1:45.216, and he's done. Alex Egan improving in the first sector. Personal best. So is Lepare. Personal best sector 1 by 3/10 of a second. Needs at least 6 attempts to beat out Mike Johnson in 4th place. But it will be Egan who come across the line. No, he's invalidated sector 2. So once again, this lap time won't count. He'll have one final attempt if he has enough virtual energy in that car to continue on. Mike Johnson just ahead of Lepare. And Johnson improving in the second sector. His last lap was lost in the final sector, but what can it be in this time? Could be his final lap. And it will be an improvement in time, but he stays in 4th. Lepare in 5th. And unless the drivers will push again, I believe that will be it. Alex Egan, he's down on the first sector. 3 attempts down, in fact. And heading into the third sector, does he have... He has set a personal best. Second sector. he's going and pushing that car to its limits. Every car is in the pits now except for Egan, as the hypercars exit out of the pit lane. But unless a miracle happens, it looks like Boris Jensen will take pole position for the start of the Algarve, as Fabrim will line up next to him. Egan in the second row, lining up with Mike Johnson, Lapari and Mackie in the third row, 5th and 6th. It will now be the hypercars who will make their way. Takes a couple of laps for these tyres to be warmed up. But Leary out first, just Arkina in second in the Toyota. Then it will be Philip Hawkes. A few updates to the cars since last time, I believe. The 2026 was it TR010, I believe. Can't remember the exact car ID, but it is a brand new 2026 evolution of the 2025 car and the hypercar that has been running since 2021. But it will be Leary to start the first benchmark lap time. As always, not representative, especially in the first about 5 minutes or so. You can see Leary trying to put tyre temperature into his slicks, and it will be not representative on this first lap. Just Arkina though. Purple sector 1, not representative of course, because the gap between the fastest sector 1 and the slow sector 1 is about 2 seconds. Of course, different hypercars warm their tyres up a bit easier than others. Leary going into the gravel on this first warm-up lap, and he lets just Arkina go by. Now this is where you're going to start seeing some actual push laps on this next flying lap. Arkina though will set a benchmark lap time first off, with 6.5 minutes left to go. Arkina comes across the line now, as Leary comes back into the pits. A 34.481 benchmark. Philip Hawkes will be slightly slower. Yeah, 38. Yeah, don't take into account on the leaderboard just yet. Arkina and the rest of the hypercars are just getting started. Into turn 1, Arkina actually slower in sector 1 on that first attempt. Oh, that's not why I got planned. There we go. It's such a tricky corner as you have to feather on the throttle pretty much without oversteering and losing control of the car. That goes to everyone, even experienced drivers struggle with that corner. And the uphill braking zone, or just over the crest once again, and Arkina still slower despite the tyres now being properly warmed up. A 134.481 seems to be the actual representative time here. Al Shaif, last week's race winner, 1.7 seconds away from the Toyota just Arkina. Arkina's got to make it all through the third sector if he wants to extend his provisional pole position gap. And it is the fastest third sector, but it's not enough to beat out his personal best. Yogma in the pits, Leary still in the garage. Let's get back on towards the TV cycles. Michael de Gore now sets the fastest lap time, a 1:34.367. It wasn't a personal best first or third sector, but that second sector has made up all the ground there to take away provisional pole from Just Arkina. Speaking of personal best sectors, Arkina, purple sector 1, but we did mention about that corner. Lost the rear. It's such an easy thing to do. Don't blame it on him. It's just how the track works. Al-Shaif now making his way through this particular corner as well. Making it through, but he's 6 tenths out down on sector 1. Arkina's lap was looking good. He made up the difference in sector 1 alone, but wasn't able to complete it. 3.5 minutes. Yogma in the pits. Hawks still out on track, and Leary still in the pits. And Al-Shaif has abandoned this lap time. De Gore, it's a net improvement as long as he matches his previous third sector, which in itself wasn't his personal best. De Gore comes across the line and he goes quickest. He was already quick. He's now 5 tenths ahead of second. 1:33.977, locking up into turn 1, but that won't matter in this moment in time. He's got his lap time. Fairlish Al-Shaif will want to at least put a lap time on the board. He is 2.2 seconds down on the fastest lap. He wants to be somewhat closer to that. 2 tenths quicker in the first sector. Personal best. Moving towards the next corner now. And touching the grass on the inside slightly, but he will continue on. What's the second sector? There's a blue Cadillac of Philip Hawks on the sidelines. 1 tenth up in sector 2. The penultimate corner follow up the final corner. Yogma doesn't seem like he'll come out again. There's not enough time to anymore. Leary won't set a lap time in qualifying either. Al-Shaif will come across the line, currently in third place. Can he promote himself up into the front row? No, it won't be enough. Despite an almost second improvement, it's not enough to get ahead of Just Arkina. The gap's still about 1.2 seconds. Philip Hawks, who was on the sidelines while Al-Shaif was doing his lap, starts his next one as Just Arkina. Yellow flags because he's in the gravel trap at the tricky corner. We've mentioned this before. He's off at the same place. That's at Samsung corner, turn number 8. And yellow flags for Michael de Gore because he's on the gravel just at the exit of the hairpin of Torre Vip. He was slightly down, but by 67 thousandths of a second, so not by much at all. Regardless, he's still 5 tenths ahead and he's got 30 seconds left on the clock, but that won't be enough to start another lap time, I'll tell you that. And 0 seconds on the clock means that qualifying is over. Nobody is setting their personal best. Al-Shaif is down his lap time, so is Arkina, so is de Gore, and it looks like that the leaderboard will stay how it is. De Gore takes pole position ahead of Just Arkina. Al Shaif in third, Yogma in fourth, Hawks in fifth, and Leary without a lap time in sixth place.
Teams and drivers go to the grid for a race start.
And the race starts will begin now. A minute and a half of worse or downtime for the drivers to change setups, change fuel loads, and to manipulate strategies. Let's have a look. Drivers slowly getting on towards the end of the last corner. Short formation lap will follow, and then green flags going underway. We'll get underway. Apologies. Yeah. "20 seconds left on the clock."
Formation lap has started.
Formation lap getting underway, and the hypercars will leave first out of their spots. Michael de Gore in the Aston Martin, a very good lap time to put up into pole. Boris Jensen, the BMW, also now just getting underway. Pole position in the Ben WRT car. It's a 60 km/h speed limit until green flags are waved. All drivers in Hypercar in formation. Soon the GT3s will as well, but as they go over the crest, this race will begin very shortly. The start-finish line approaches, and green flag gets underway, and the Aston Martin gets a decent start, but Just Arkina, the acceleration on that Toyota, he's going to hang around the outside for the first corner, and he's going to be right behind the Aston Martin. Toyota goes slightly wide of Just Arkina, but it's all pretty clean heading through the first couple of corners. The Toyota going very deep. That allows Al Shaif to take advantage of it and get a better line through the third corner, and they'll go to the inside now. The Toyota will have to somewhat defend this. Tyres are cold, remember. The Ferrari at the hairpin will go down the inside perhaps for second place, but Al Shaif, very tentative, hangs to the impact as much inside as possible, as Leary in the background trying to fight against the Cadillac. It's side by side between Arkina, Al Shaif in towards Samsung corner, and we saw a mistake here from Just Arkina in qualifying twice on cold tyres. How can it affect him? A bit wide and losing traction. You know that was just about to happen, and that's Al Shaif in the wall. Arkina in the background also cutting across the grass. Meanwhile, in GT3, Boris Jensen getting off to a good start, as Fabreem in second place, Alex Egan in third. They've all gone off pretty well without too much drama. De Gore in a comfortable first place, ahead of Yogma by about 3.5 seconds. It's been a brilliant start for De Gore. Yogma in second, Hawks in third, Leary in fourth place. Started sixth, now up 2 places because of those two of Al Shaif and Arkina making contacts. Jensen. 6 tenths behind Fabrim. They've gone off well, these two. And they'll look to fight for the race lead. Fabrim took the win last time out on the road. So in terms of pace, he should do pretty well. Jensen, the BMW, will look to try to make a step, his mark, in the third round of the season. Al-Shaif in the pits. Unfortunately, I think the damage done to that 499p might be a slow repair, to say the least. Fabrim and Jensen still under a second from each other, even after a couple of laps, so they're pretty equal on pace here. Jogber maintaining a gap of 3.5 seconds, 3.6 seconds about onto this next lap. As Arkina filing his way back through the GT3 field after making an oversteer mistake at the Exo Samsung. And now he's back into towards Hypercar firing range to try to get back up those places that he lost. Starting on the front row, now currently 5th. He's got 90 minutes to take the podium, or perhaps even a win is possible here. Arkina setting the fastest lap, while even overtaking the Hypercars, GT3s. Jensen taking the fastest lap in GT3. He's extended his gap to Fabrim by about 1.5 seconds. Looking good so far. Another interest of note for the Toyota car, he starts this race with his front left and his rear left tyre being hards. His right hand side of the car medials. So an interesting tyre allocation there. The red rimmed tyres you can see there, those count for hards. Let's see if it pays off rim. The left side of the car definitely more under load around this track compared to the others. Aspects note, the final corner. A lot of load being put onto the left hand side of that car through there. De Gore starts his next lap and he's pulling a comfortable lead here still. Seven seconds now, just Arkina still setting fastest lap times. Jensen setting fastest lap times. The drivers are going faster, the tyres are getting warmer, and the track's getting up to snuff. De Gore's pulling away from Jogber now. He's 10 seconds ahead. That's quite a gap after about 6.5 minutes or so. It was about 3 seconds not too long ago. And now a 10-second gap. It's quite a fair amount, if you want me to be honest. De Gore setting the fastest lap time, 1:34.6. Just Arkina, his previous fastest lap was a 1:36. Dead. So he's gone 1.4 seconds quicker, De Gore. as Jogma with a 1:39. That shows the pace disparity at the moment between first and second place. Fabreem still sees Jensen up ahead, despite Jensen setting even quicker lap times comparatively between these two first and second place GT3s. Their last lap, a 1:45.7 for Jensen, that was the fastest. For Fabreem, a 46.2, so 5 tenths slower between first and second place in favour of Jensen. We saw Lapare set yellow flags for just a small moment. De Gore, yellow flags. He spun the wrong way round. That's at the second to last corner. No, third to last corner. And that means that, well, he already... Okay, I was about to say that Jogma takes the race lead, but no, the gap was still big enough for De Gore to come out just 3.5 seconds ahead of the Porsche 72 car. Let's get a replay of what exactly happened to Michael De Gore. Was it just a moment? Yeah, just a moment, and he tried to save it. Just a bit of oversteer Xing out of that. What was that? Turn 13. Indeed is. So, all good. He continues on. Probably trying to push limit testing. The 009 Aston Martin. I think he's found his limit from now. Arkina, 35.288 comparatively to the fastest lap. A few tenths down, but we'll catch back up. In fact, Arkina now ahead of Leary. You can see what happened with the overtake. I must have missed that. Unfortunately, overtake for P4 versus the Peugeot, and the Peugeot just slightly slow. I do wonder what exactly happened, but no matter. Arkina up into fourth place. Because of De Gore's spin and slight mistake, he's now behind the lapped Al-Shaif because... Oh, he's lost his rear once again, this time onto the entry of turn 13 rather than the exit. Let's get a replay because a few mistakes here and there at turn 13. Just the rear bias must be a little bit too high if that rear just comes out like that. So... just a few mistakes here and there might be able to bring Jogma back to the race lead contention. 2 seconds now is the gap between the two cars. De Gore will now make a mental note about turn 13 for these next couple of laps. Just Arkina now up into third place. An overtake versus Philip Hawks. An overtake for P3. Philip Hawks a little bit wide. The wrong line through the last corner, and Arkina takes it swift and simple. Arkina 11.7 seconds away from the race lead. Let's get the... Oh no, 11.12 seconds now behind Jogma, and then 15 seconds away from the race lead. Let's go back to GT3s. Jensen and Fabreem, they're matching each other's pace pretty well relatively actually. 1.7 seconds between these two cars after about 11 minutes. So they should be doing fine. Paul Mackey has got yellow flags. Oh no, he's just lost a place to on the road, Al Shaif. So Al Shaif making his way back through the field again because of Al Shaif's pitting to the garage. He is now on the same lap as the GT3s for your information. So if you see a bit of red being ticked in the GT3 field, that's because of Al Shaif with the 51 car overtaking the GT3's 4th position. De Gore now pulling away from Yorkbert, now is 6.5 seconds. Let's see the comparative lap times between the two cars on this lap. De Gore comes across the line with a 35.4. Yorkmer meanwhile 38.599. It's a 3-second gap. De Gore going quicker than Yorkmer by about 3 seconds. Arkina now fastest on this last lap. Those tyres have now properly warmed up with his mixed allocation of tyres. But locking up into turn 2 and going out wide into the gravel. That's going to hamper his progress a little bit, but he will continue on without too much damage. In terms of energy levels, it's all relatively simple here. Everybody in the 77-76% range, except for Al Shaif, who came into the pits after that first lap collision. Lapare choosing to go low on his first stint in terms of virtual energy, the Aston Martin of Mackie, going out significantly wide and into the gravel at Samsung. That's Paul Mackey in the Heart of Racing 27 car. So Mackey and Lapare going lower with their virtual energy count, 44 and 54% respectively. Boris Jensen on that last lap, quickest in Sector 3. De Gore is a man on a mission here. He's once again pulled a couple of seconds from Arturus Yorkmer. Yorkmer has got to start looking behind him despite Arkina's mistake at this corner right here. 6 seconds. Keep an eye on that time. 6.7 seconds. Because judging by pace alone, you might see that gap go down. The GT3 race lead now. The gap just over 2 seconds. Yellow flags in Sector 1. Nothing on the page. It's Paul Mackey. It's Paul Mackey on the inside of the exit of Turn 2. Was it Turn 3? It's Turn 3, Lagos. He gets going again though, so no stresses there. Yet a flag in Sector 2, it's a hypercar. Well, which hypercar is it? Just scrolling through to see who it is. There's a hypercar stuck on the... Oh, it's Philip Hawks, and he's missing a tyre. The number 847 Cadillac is missing one of his tyres. Let's get a replay on what exactly happened to Philip Hawks. There's no replay to pick from on my point of view. He's just... That's at Okay, his front left is missing. That's obvious to tell, but that's at Samsung corner. The one that we shouldn't say anymore because we've seen a couple of victims now. As Philip Hawks, with his left front missing, is trying to rejoin onto the track. But there are some cars heading into this next corner. They've got to be wary that there is a car on the outside. They're fine now. The HUDs will be telling them, you big yellow flag. Watch out for a car reversing now over the crest. I do wonder what Hawks' plan is now after missing one of his tyres. That's Leary in the Peugeot giving him a good old push to go over the crest. Or trying to push him somewhat in the right direction. But missing his tyre, that's going to be a harder job than usual, to be fair. And now he's onto the sidelines. Let's get back into GT3. .4 seconds now between Jensen and Fabry. 2.5 seconds. As Philip Hawks has made his way and still reversing out onto the track. De Gaulle now has a Ferrari catching up to him. He's going to want out of shape to try to unlap himself perhaps, but De Gaulle's pace. 15 seconds now the gap. The flag's been set once again for Philip Hawks, this time on the inside of, what is that, turn 12? Or turn 11. He's still trying to make his way back into the pit lane. Oh, Mike Johnson in the Lexus losing a rear, but manages to catch it. Good on him, he's done very well there. We haven't talked about Ejin, Johnson, Lapare much. Philip Hawks still there. Ejin in the comfortable third place, 16 seconds behind Fabry and 9 seconds ahead. It's Mackie with yellow flags now, and this is at the exit of turn 5, the hairpin. Let's see what exactly happened between Mackie, just lost the rear at the exit of the hairpin. And, well, if Hawks manages to make it to the pit lane, well done. He's slowly on his way there. This time he's going to be right all over the Pirelli logo. But he is on the racing line slightly. The Aston Martin. Noticing as Yogma gets past. And the Aston Martin, that is Mackie helping to push the Cadillac back into the pit lane. Just a few more 100 meters now, and he's going to be right into his pit box. There you go. 1.7 seconds between Fabry and Jensen. I've never seen this before. A hypercar missing one of its tyres, reversing into the pit lane. I wonder how the game will react to this. pure curiosity. Philip Hawkes now subsequently is now into the pit lane as well, helping the Cadillac along. What happens when the 3-point turn for the Cadillac? Right. This might be slightly awkward, missing one of its front tires. If you're wondering why I'm still watching this, not much happening out on track except for the smallest gap between Fabreem and Jensen. And the Cadillac on its way. So we'll switch back to the current running. Leary in 4th place, 41 seconds behind Arkina, 23 seconds ahead of Al-Shaif. He's in the definition of no man's land currently in the IFWL Peugeot. Lapare, 5th place, 2 seconds behind Johnson. He's actually closing up relatively well, the Mustang. I think a decent car around Algarve relatively to BOP. So, let's see how he does. Jensen, 1.5, 1.6 seconds ahead of Fabreem. Fabreem, with every single lap, is slowly gaining. This lap alone, last lap I mean, 2 tenths improvement between the two cars. And 1.3, 1.2. It is getting closer relatively, as that is Mackie letting by the BMW due to blue flags. De Gore ahead of Jogma by about 22 seconds, now 23 seconds. That's almost ridiculous, as you think that Fabreem was trying to go down the inside the Aston Martin taking to a racing line, which he is obliged to do. He doesn't need to get out of the way at the momentary notice he sees a P2 car. But that could have been closer than either of those two would have wanted. Harry ahead of Mike Johnson. There's something's happened to Johnson here. Let's see how the overtake took place. Oh, and that was Leary losing the rear in the Peugeot, and Johnson slow and relatively overtake for Leary. Oh no, Johnson onto the gravel at turn 13. Leary saw him losing quite a fair bit of traction. So I do wonder what exactly happened, because it's not coming up on my timing screens that Leary had a bit of a yellow flag moment there, but regardless, we continue on. That is De Gore trying to get past. 24 seconds ahead of the race lead. Now Shave now getting held Leary into the pits. De Gore putting up a bit of a smoke screen, locking up into turn 3. Twenty-six and a half minutes have elapsed in this race. We're heading into about a third of this race being completed. 90 minutes of Portimao. gap between first and second, 1 second. In GT3, I mean. 147.1 for Jensen, 46.8 for Fabreem. Fabreem catching up. The gap is now 0.7 of a second. Hawks, after repairing his car, now back out in P6. Albeit a lap down from the race leader. So, we might see a fight here for the race lead between the BMW and Porsche. As Leary receives a stop and go penalty from race control. That might have to do something with the pit limiter. Fabreem now all over the shop behind the BMW. And the Porsche trying to take different lines to set up the car for a better exit. Through the final corner. This has been the closest that Fabreem has been to Jensen throughout this entire race, and almost a third into it, Fabreem now putting pressure onto the BMW. 3.5 tenths split between the two GT3 cars heading into the first corner. It's these type of corners where you need the best traction as possible that the Porsche excels at. The BMW, an incredibly stable car, no matter what track you put it in. The Porsche, though, once pushed, you can excel at a great many things. Five turns between the race leader and second place. Leary back into the pits for, I suppose, stopping the stop and go penalty. Yeah. What can Jensen do to fend off Fabreem here in towards the next lap? Heading for the final corner, a bit of dirty air being spooled away from the BMW. It will slow down the Porsche quite a fair bit, going slightly wide there. No harm done. 5 tenths now between the front two. Fabreem, his last lap invalidated, so got a few warnings here and there. Oh, Fabreem, concertina effect perhaps, but he's catched up rapidly through that braking zone into Lagos. Let's dish out the 1v1 graphic here because this is much worthy of it. Virtual energy. Relatively similar, but Jensen pushing the car a little bit more than Fabreem, at least on throttle. 42% versus 45%. If both started with 100% virtual energy. But now, the gap slowly expanding to now almost 8 tenths of a second. Meanwhile, in Hypercar, Yogba versus Arkina. You can see the tyre allocation that Arkina has. It's a bit unique. Marquina putting on the pressure versus Jogma. Which lines do you take to the next corner? I think Jogma might have gone a little bit deep. Into turn 13. And now this is where the move is done in this particular corner, because you've got to have the best exits possible. The GT3 in the middle of the last corner though won't help either one of the two cars there. Okay, the McLaren stays to the inside. No impact there, but Arkina all over the back of the Porsche. Front bumper to rear bumper. Now switches to the inside for Arkina. They'll be side by side over the start-finish straight. The Hypercar, number 7. It's a swift move for the Toyota. No harm done. A little bit wide, but keeps that place. And it's a well done, well set overtaking move for the Toyota. Let's get back to this GT3 battle, because for moments, yeah, it climbed to over a second between the 157 and the 31 cars. And Jensen pulling away from the Porsche by about 3.5 tenths of a second there. Now we could see a fight between Lepare and Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson now under a second behind the Ford Mustang. Mike Johnson losing this place previously because he was slow after seeing a Peugeot spin out in front of him. Or something related to that perhaps. But we could see two potential battles in GT3. One for the race lead and one for 4th. Have a look at the virtual energy numbers as well. Lepare on 6% compared to Johnson's 32. Lepare will either on this lap or the next lap, if he conserves enough, will have to pit. Oh, Johnson going onto the inside, a bit of side-to-side contact. The Mustang going very deep into Lagos. And Mike Johnson up into 4th place. Mackie with yellow flags. What's happened to Paul Mackie? That's at the exit of Samsung. And he's at the wide, into the gravel. At the exit of turn 8. Leary versus Philip Hawkes. Well, Leary's ahead of Hawkes by about, I think that is a couple of laps. Let's get back to the race lead battle. No moves into turn 1 for Fabrim. This may come down to strategy for either one of these two cars. Fabrim with his virtual energy can extend his stint by about +1 lap compared to the BMW, if he chooses to. The general consensus in LMU is that you pit as late as you possibly can. The general trend is an undercut does not work in LMU. So let's see what happens here. Okay, the leaderboard is interesting because Philip Hawkes is down by Is that plus 6 laps? That's Mackie. Don't really know what happened because he's behind the Goodyear logo, but he's had yellow flags again. And just kind of struggling around the Algarve. Let's see, just either broke away to leave. He was into the barriers. Okay. Laparo into the pits. Let's have a look at this race lead battle because it was getting close. Under 4 tenths between the two cars, but we saw Fabri and Mickey. It's like by moments, the windshield wipers are being activated here at the Algarve. That only means one thing, there's water slowly coming down, but will it be enough to put on the wet compound tyres? That may throw a spanner into the works here. Let's have a look at the forecast. We didn't see it at the start of this race, but yeah, okay, right, it's starting to rain. The rain throws in a multitude of factors. When do you pit? What is a right line in LMU? A simulated wet line that does take place. The racing line will eventually not be the fastest line at all due to the amount of rubber being placed on it for the last, about 40 minutes or so. So we might see some drivers take to many different lines, which around the Algarve isn't too hard to do. It's definitely interesting. I do wonder how this throws a little bit of a element into this race. The more experienced drivers will know to handle the rain, but some of these drivers, who knows, it might be their first time tackling a mixed race condition event here. Fabrini has been extremely close to the back of this BMW here. And Jensen a bit deep at the hairpin. Might be slightly distracted from the Porsche 72 of Jogma in the hypercar. But they're on relatively equal footing, the race leaders, 24 thousandths the gap between the two cars on that particular last run. The sun not showing, the clouds are getting even more grey while this rain slowly trickles down. It's not heavy enough, but you can see the driver slowly starting to lose control of its stability in a few moments, but not too badly at all. Let's try and get into the cockpit to see how the rain looks like on the dash. So a few specks here and there, but it's certainly not enough to do any damage so far. We might see that change in a few minutes, so keep an eye, watch the volume of raindrops falling down to the car's front window. And we'll get back to out on the TV cycle. Last lap, Jensen versus Fabrim. Jensen quicker than Fabrim. Well, I noticed that on Fabrim's onboard the short while we were on it. Oh, Laparo, yellow flags. And it's a mistake. Oh, I believe that might be a rain affected. The Mustang trying to get back on track, but oh, very close to losing his rear wing in the barriers. And we're starting to see the rain put a spanner into the works. The Porsche flashing its headlights. The BMW a bit slow at the exit of Samsung compared to the Porsche. Slowed down the Porsche more than he would have wanted. And this might be able to get a bit spicy. Jensen trying to explore the racetrack, trying to figure out where is the grip while it is a bit wet. And the Porsche looking to the inside, turn 13. It's an opportunistic overtake, but for the race lead for Bream up into the top spot. Jensen, who has been leading this race from start to now after about 43 minutes, he now loses the race lead. The rain pours, and it's unforgiving. Jensen might be able to take the race lead away back into the first corner. Let's go on board to see exactly what's on there. Oh no, that's not what I wanted at all. Oh, dear, what the... Sorry, apologies. And no moves into turn 1 for Jensen. For Bream now, a virtual energy advantage. Jensen a disadvantage, and he's looking a little bit less comfortable in the rain. Lepare serving a drive-through penalty. Has a drive-through penalty now. Interesting. I wonder what that's for. But yeah, wow. Let's have a look at to see exactly what happened to Lepare. Why did he get this drive through? What's it here? Nothing out of the sorts, I think. I can't really tell what was wrong in that particular moment. Lepare didn't get another drive through. That's the same penalty. I think, hopefully, for Lepare's sake. Yellow flags in sector 3, and that is Michael de Gore, your race leader. And he's trying to get back to the racetrack. He's perpendicular to it, and that's at the exit at 11. He doesn't lose a position because he was about 35 seconds ahead of Arkina. But let's get a closer look at the replay to see what exactly happened to Michael de Gore. I think that's just losing the rear. We've seen just a couple of mistakes from the majority of the drivers here. It's not too it's not too uncommon, especially in these mixed conditions when you're on slicks and you're trying to figure out what's going on. Okay, ignore that. Okay, let's get back onto the onboard. Actually, of Boris Jensen. How much is the rain pouring down? When is it the right time to come onto the wet tyres? You don't have radio telling you like this is the precise moment to come into the wet. At least I don't think so. I can't remember, but yeah. Still looks to be dry enough, not too much grip lost, I would like to say, without jinxing anybody out on this racetrack. Let's see what this next lap time is, because during the dry there's a 146 consistently between these cars. Yellow flags for Arkina, and Arkina, that's at Samsung corner. And this time, let's see exactly what happened, and just lost a rear. Lost a car. All good, it's the rain. These things are expected to happen. And Arkeen is probably in the worst position here due to his hard tyre allocation. His hard tyres will not be enjoying the cold rain at all. Let's have a look at virtual energy, because it might be interesting. De Gore and Arkeen are both at 16%. Yogma and Al-Shaif in 22 and 25. Leary and Hawks came into the pits a little bit earlier to repair damages. Lapare on the inside of turn 13. Turn 13 being a hot spot to see a few yellow flags being waved. But Lapare getting back onto the racetrack. Johnson on 8% in GT3. Fabrim 17%. He's the healthiest out of the drivers who haven't pitted yet. That may be an extra 4 or 5 laps if he continues to save the virtual energy. Yogba into the pits. What tyre does he choose to go on to? Is it time for dries? Because he could have extended for a bit longer, but he chooses to come into the pits now. And it will be the wet compound tyres for Arturus Yogma. The first driver to go onto the wet compound tyres now. Let's see if it pays off for him. Being the first out of anybody is more riskier than some may expect. Leary also on the wet compound tyres. Let's see, how is his pace actually comparatively? 38 in Hypercar, but interesting. Okay, Al-Shaif in now coming across the line. Let's see. There is a... Is that bugged? I think that was bugged. It says that Al-Shaif is the exit of the last corner. No, he's fine. Right. Fabrin versus Jensen. Let's get back to the gap between the two cars. Still under a second. They're both biding their time. Now, will it be who pits the latest, or will they pit both at the same time? Does one blindside the other in terms of strategy? Because if one does what the other doesn't, the gap may expand from this under a second battle that we have at the moment. De Gore now catching up to the race leaders in GT3. Does anybody follow what Yogma just did as of the competing runners so far in this race? He's the first one that came into the pits. De Gore continues on, so does Fabrim, so does Jensen. They're going without a snitch. Let's have a look. How is Yogma doing on this wet compound tyre? How is the car looking? Is it the right time? Is it the wrong time? Let's go into the cockpit. The rain is definitely heavier than it was about a few minutes ago. But is the track wet enough? That's the most important thing. Tyres squealing, trying to get some semblance of grip through the last corner. Let's see what this lap time is. It's a 1:55. So it's either that it's not the right time or the tyres haven't warmed up yet. Who knows? Because a normal dry lap would be a 1:38 or 1:40. Lapare, yellow flags. Whoa, what's happened to Lapare? Let's get back on the TV cycle. Okay, he's just off road. I was wondering what exactly happened, but Lapare getting back onto the track, but he's going to be in the way of the race leaders. There's contact between Fabrim and Lapare, and it's a whole entire ordeal between those two cars. And there's no doubt that the Porsche has front bumper damage. Jensen being wary enough to see that was happening. But, wow, okay, interesting to see that happen. Contact between Lapare and Fabrim. let's get... Okay, let's not switch to a replay just yet because you might see a move for the race lead. That damage to the Porsche might affect him quite a fair bit. The Algarve is not kind to those with damage. But Fabrim seemed to make it work. 9% virtual energy left in that car. Jensen will probably have to pit on this next lap. 4%. That's not going to be enough to complete 2 laps. Question is, what tyre does he choose? Wets or dries? Okay, let's get a replay to see that contact between Fabrim and Lepare. Lepare being the lapped car, Fabrim being the race leader. Fabrim flashing his headlights, he wants to let him know that he's there, but just on the racing line. I mean, there was enough space on the outside for Fabrim to overtake, but Lepare in the middle of the apex. Let's see if that's going to be reported and subsequently being penalised for. Arkina yellow flags, and that's at Samsung corner. Is it just a loss of rear traction again? Yeah, probably copy and pasted from the last time, just a few laps ago, that Arkina spun there as well. All good. I mean, the track is not getting any drier anytime soon. Egan now into the pits. What tyres does he choose? Wets. It's the wet compound tyre for Alex Egan. Jensen continues on 1% virtual energy. He's on 0.8% virtual energy. Jensen is on extremely low virtual energy, but he continues on regardless. He's going to bet on... He's going to get a penalty. 0.4% virtual energy is not enough to get to the pits without having a drastic penalty here. And that is 0% virtual energy confirmed for the BMW. And subsequently, unsurprisingly, a stop-go penalty for Boris Jensen for running out of virtual energy. De Gore on 3% virtual energy. He'll have to come into the pits on this next lap. So will Arkina. Arkina on 3% now. He either comes into the pits now or tries to conserve into this next lap. Weather forecast. What is it looking like? It's now almost dry. So is it still wet? Is it still raining? It looks like it's still raining. Okay. Might be 22 minutes until it is clear skies almost. It's a tricky day for all those drivers out there due to the rain. And Boris Jensen, as Arkina gets past, will come into the pits. Fabrim now comes into the pits. Jensen will have to get more virtual energy, then come back into the pits in a short amount of time to serve the stop-go. But yeah, the race lead fight lost now because of Jensen's stop-and-go penalty. It's incredibly unfortunate to see. De Gore, 1.6% virtual energy. He'll have enough to get to the pits. Yeah. 34 minutes left in the race. And De Gore coming into the pits. Fabreem exiting out on wet compound tyres. So does no, Boris Jensen doesn't come out on the wet compound tyres. He's going to have to gamble that the mediums work out and the track dries enough when the rain stops. Because there's not really much point following Fabreem's strategy if he's going to lose out anyway. 76% virtual energy. Let's have a look at the virtual energy numbers after Jarvis are pitted. Fabreem on 65, he thinks that's enough to get to the end. Jensen on 75. Ejin on 70. Fares Al-Shaif, he's been making a quiet comeback, but he's in P2 on the road currently. It might be looking good to perhaps see him on the podium by the end of this race. Involved in the first lap collision against Alkino, who is 11 seconds on the road behind him at the moment. But Al-Shaif can pit about 2 laps from now, so about 27, 28 minutes left to go. Yellow flags for Paul Mackey, who is at the pit entry, going back into the pits. Now, the timing is interesting. Eve has damage. De Gaulle yellow flag. De Gaulle yellow flag. He's cutting across the grass at Samsung corner. De Gaulle came out of the pits. Let's actually have a look at the tyre allocation at the moment, because it is definitely interesting. De Gaulle came out of the pits on the mediums. He's betting on the fact that it dries enough. It's not wet enough for the wet compound tyres. But he's got the gap to do it. Even if he loses time in this wet period, he will have enough to not have to go into the pits again, practically. Fares Al-Shaif hasn't pitted yet during this wet period, so he still has a choice between going back onto the mediums or onto the wets. Alkino, Yogma, Leary on the wets, Hawks on the mediums, Jensen coming back into the pits to service stop go. He gets back out again. He came out on the mediums. Johnson on the mediums as well. It's a checkered colour. Checkered board between LMGT3 positions at the moment. 2/3 of this race have been completed. 12 drivers making their way towards the end of this race. No DNFs so far. A few lost tyres here and there, but regardless, they're still out on track. Okay, what does Fares Al-Shaif do? He continues on with 4% virtual energy. That will be enough to come into the pits in this lap. Has Jensen served his stop-go penalty correctly? I don't know if Jensen... That might be a timing glitch, but still says on both my lobby detail and leaderboard detail that he's still got a stop-go. De Gaulle out wide into the gravel, and well, it's... might not be getting any easier for the Aston Martin Valkyrie. Let's have a look at the interval once again. The gap between... yeah, De Gaulle's last lap was 1:55. And Al-Shaif with 1:39. Oh yeah, they're both on medium, so... I am interested to see how this race goes. Throw a bit of spice in there for De Gaulle. Trying to continue on these mediums. Fabreem in a very comfortable position. He's now 47 seconds ahead of Jensen. Fares Al-Shaif with 2% virtual energy. And now 1% will come into the pits now. Yogma. Yellow flags because he's coming into the pits now. So he's on the wet compound tyre, so he either came into the pits now for strategy reasons. Jensen in the pits, he has a surface stop go again. That's incredibly unfortunate to see. Oh, okay. So the pit boxes are relatively close together. So, Fellows Al-Shaif, what does he choose to do? Does he stick onto the mediums or does he go into the wets? It looks like he's staying on the mediums. He thinks it's quick enough. He's pitted late enough that it might get him through the wet period. Let's have a look at the onboard to see how wet it is out on track. It's drying. There's less rain on the dashboard. So, the Gore, 10-13, and he's going to get back onto the track. He is not under too much pressure here, but there is less rain on that dashboard. Shaif comes out in third place ahead of Jochen by about 1 minute and 14 seconds. They did pit at the same time, remember. Shaif coming out on the mediums. One out of the two hypercar drivers to come out on the mediums after pitting. De Gore is actually so close to lapping Fellows Al-Shaif. I can't believe this. He's going to lap the podium. Oh, just Arkina at, where's that? That is the last corner. Let's see what happened. Just loss of rear traction. Keep an eye on the gap between Al-Shaif and Arkina, because right now it's about 31 seconds. A newly pitted medium compound tyre rider and Arkina on the wets. 25 minutes left to go and the track is drying. Al-Shaif might be able to salvage a P2 in this race. Now Fabry was managed, well, there's no other way to, okay. Jochmer at the exit of Samsung, turn 8, on the gravel. Now we're starting to see the wet compound runners struggle. First it was Arkina, and now it's Jochmer. Yeah. The consequence of spinning out once is that, oh wow! That was extremely close. Oh dear. As I was saying, consequence of spinning out once is that you spin out again, and Arkina, oh dear, yeah, he's choosing to come into the pits now. Just Arkina through the final corner as he, yeah. Spin out once, overhit your tyres. You got to like drive these hypercars like you're trying to shave a crab. I don't even know anymore, but what I'm trying to say is that you've got to be super careful on the throttle if you do spin out once on overheated tyres. Overheated tyres are basically the be-all end-all for fast laps. And Leary DNFing from this race. Jochmer yellow flags as he comes into the pits. And De Gore's made a master strategy here. Just coming out on the mediums after pitting. question marks on that decision, but clearly, Fortune Ball knew that the time was time, and it wasn't wet enough that the wets would make a huge impact. Hanged it out on the mediums, and with 23 minutes left to go, he's 1 minute and 28 seconds ahead of Al Shaif. Okay, the last wet tyre rather is Fablim. Fablim needs to come into the pit sometime because every single one of the hypercar drivers is now on mediums. Every one of the GT3s except for Fablim is on medium compound tyres, so we'll see the Porsche come into the pits somewhat in the near future. He is, and I'm not kidding, am I seeing that correctly? I believe he has lapped the entire field. Pending pit stops, mind you, but he has lapped the entire field. And Fabrim now chooses to come into the pits. Oh dear. And De Gaulle. Has he lapped Al Shaif now? Is that correct? Yep, De Gaulle is now lapped from second place downwards. So our two race leaders have lapped everyone below them. Okay, after hitting, Fabrim is now not lapped over second place downwards. So Fabrim comes out in first place in relatively comfortable fashion. Oh, am I seeing that correctly? Still. Right. We haven't talked much about Egan. Egan has done a relatively quiet race. Still finds his way in third place behind Johnson and ahead of Jensen. Not any first lap collisions, in a comfortable P3 spot at the moment. 20 minutes remain. So Felix Al-Shaif hasn't been lapped yet by P1. Currently, De Gaulle is setting personal best sector 1. I mean personal best, I mean fastest sector 1. Right. This might be interesting. De Gaulle sets the fastest lap of this race. Fastest sectors 1 and 3, mind you, and he has no patience to stop, I guess, because he's going to catch up to Al Shaif and then he'll be a lap behind. Fabrim, he's 1 minute ahead of Johnson. Johnson is making his way through the penultimate corner, turn 40, I believe, yeah. Felix Al-Shaif and Michael de Gore both make contact. Oh, wow. Okay, Felix Al-Shaif going out wide as de Gore gets past. Okay. It said possible contact, so no contact there, fortunately, everyone. But now Al-Shaif is now a lap behind de Gore. It's a masterclass in strategy for a few of these drivers here. No troubles in virtual energy. Everybody will get to the end with 17.5 minutes left to go. Let's just get a closer look, however, just on the energy numbers. 38 will be enough to get to the end for hypercars. 41 will be enough to get to the end for GT3s. I mean, 16 minutes left to go. There's not much occurring. The track's dried up, and well, it's going to be a relatively quiet end for everybody else on track. Nobody within 10 seconds of each other. Liam ahead of Johnson by about 1 minute, and ahead of E. Jin for by about 1 minute further back. I mean, especially for those who are experiencing LMU, especially if you've been around the block for a while, the strategy plays an important part, and knowing that the rain sometimes doesn't fall too hard around these tracks will serve you pretty well. De Gore has either had that experience or has had enough a high enough IQ to realise that. So de Gore coming out with a one stop, medium. That's well done to him to get to the end. Al-Shaif, he's climbed back up. Get a flag for Yogma, and that's at the exit of 10, 11. 10, 11. But yeah, he gets back on without too much penalty onto the gravel at 10:13. Oh yeah, Al-Shaif. Oh, speaking of Al-Shaif, he's had a 360 spin up the hill into turn 13. Despite feeling that his forced feedback will be vibrating non-stop like the Aston Martin in 2026 in the Formula 1, he'll be fine. Yellow flags for somebody. Sector 3, who is it? It's gone now. But that was probably our show. A late timing. Yeah, a good comeback for Al-Shaif after first lap contact with just Arkina at Samsung Corner, the exit Samsung Corner. And Arkina also doing relatively well to climb back up into third place. I believe that this is how it was at qualifying as well. De Gore first place, definitely that, but it was either between Al-Shaif and Arkina for second and third on the grid at the start of this race. But yeah, relatively well for Arkina. In GT3, Fabrim fighting out of Jensen for the majority of this race up until Jensen extended for one lap too further. Then his virtual energy demanded, and subsequently getting a stop-go penalty because of that. Fabrim taking an easy race win now after that. Johnson in second place, biding his time, doing relatively well. He's He's in the comfortable second. I think the definition of no man's land falls on him. He's 1 minute behind and 1 minute ahead. 1 minute and 90 seconds, I mean, ahead of Egen. But yeah, 12 minutes left to go. As De Gore goes past Yogma. Fabreem sets the fastest lap in GT3. Putting one last statement there to let us know who's boss on the track. Arkeen, the fastest lap in Hypercar. Showing the pace, but perhaps a little too inconsistent. And Toyota, the Toyota Hypercar, I do have to mention, is definitely, in my past experiences with this car around Portimao, that one of the hardest cars to drive. I don't know much about this Evolution model though, to see if they changed the characteristics, but the 2025 version of this car around Portimao was hell on earth. Regardless of what you say, it was hell. So, bit of empathy there for Arkina trying to pull some pace in there, and well, he is doing that. It's just a few mistakes here and there's lost a potential second, perhaps even a race win. The V12 Valkyrie, with about 10 minutes left to go. The 009, he's a lap ahead of Al Shaif. That's why you don't see a gap in the timing pages, because it's too far ahead for the leaderboard to count that that's genuinely the fact. So apart from that, De Gore setting the fastest lap. He's putting a statement again, showing that, yeah, he hasn't had a lap ahead gap for nothing. There's no, apart from strategy, he's shown his very quick as well, consistently so, despite a few mistakes here and there, especially at turn 13, where a few minor struggles, but no worries. Breen getting close to lapping Egen in the McLaren on this next lap. This is the closest thing. We're going to get into the battle for the last 9 minutes or so. Arkina, yellow flags for a split second, but he's into the gravel at what was that? Turn 3 Lagos. Green flashing his headlights, letting the McLaren know that he's there. And the McLaren subsequently lets him by without too much of a battle. Seven minutes left to go. Alshai putting personal best sectors, and he's not going to give up on trying to put some pace setting laps in. Last lap he set a 35.5, so he is about 1 second in terms of a gap behind De Gore. Thank you for Croman Jonak for donating 300 bits to the IFWL official broadcast channel. Appreciate your commitment to supporting IFWL. Five minutes left to go. I'll show you with a brief flash of yellow on his name. Let's see exactly what happened. Was there any interesting... Was it just a bit? Yeah, turn 8. Like this corner is so tough. Honestly, I don't blame some of these drivers making a few mistakes at Samsung. Let's have a look at the positions gained with 4 minutes left to go. De Gore maintains his pole position in Hypercar. Alshai gains 1 position from the second row up into second. Arkina in third, losing 1 place. Yogman stays in 4th. Hawks, that's a glitch. As Fabrim gaining 3 positions. No, that's a glitch. That's from the overall standings. Why? But yeah. As De Gore goes down the insides of the lapped class McLaren. 3 minutes left to go. 2 minutes left to go. And this will be De Gore's on the next lap, penultimate lap. And then the white flag will raise after it because, well, actually, it's going to be close, mind you. So he comes across the line now with 1 minute and 40 left. His last lap was a 1:37, so he can lose 3 seconds and wait for the timer to click to 0 before coming across the line, or he can just go again. He has enough virtual energy to do either. So either way, it will be a 009 Aston Martin as long as they don't jinx it. He will come across the line as the race winner, a V12 fan favourite car. Christian Fabrin will on 11% as well. He has enough to get to the end regardless. No stresses there, but let's have a look at the virtual energy to see if any drivers can make it an additional 1 lap. Felix Algarve might be in a small bit of trouble here. 6%? No, he'll be fine. But it is cutting it close though. That's if De Gore waits. Oh, at turn 13, he makes it through. So this, with 27 seconds left to go, coming through the second to last corner, it may be his final time coming through these roller coaster corners. 15 seconds, 14, 13. Does he slow? Does he push? What does he do? 10 seconds left. A man on a mission, doesn't stop, doesn't wait for anybody. He goes again for the white flag to be raised. 3 seconds now, and the clock runs to 0. So this will be De Gore's final lap after 90 minutes of Portimao. It's been a lead that he hasn't lost from start to finish, if I can recall correctly. And, well, you can't say that it's not deserved for the Aston Martin. The correct strategy, the correct timing, the correct driving, I guess. I mean, like, not making too many mistakes except for 2 occasional spin-outs at turn 13. But it's been somewhat of a great drive, regardless of how you see it. For Fabrin, let's get some words to him because he's drifting, losing a bit of rear traction at the exit of the hairpin. Fighting against Jensen, overtaking Jensen, and staying there. Not getting any penalties. He's doing relatively well here as well. But as De Gore comes through turn 13 and through the last couple of corners, there's no time left on that clock. Round 3 will belong to Aston Martin. De Gore, the 009, will come across the line now over the crest to win here at the Algarve. Well done to De Gore, Michael De Gore. And first place belongs to the Aston Martin. Christian Fabrin, next one to come across the line. I guess in class as well, because Fabrin, a well-deserved win for the Porsche driver. Wow. Johnson crosses the line just ahead in second place as Algarve, a recovery drive after pitting into the garage after the first lap, up 1 place from where he started. Second place for Algarve, last week's race winner. Second place this time, a good result for the Ferrari. Alex Egan coming across the line to finish in 3rd place after a retiree on the first lap. And Arkina will come across the line now to take the final podium spot for Toyota. Long, hard-fought battle with the car, with the conditions, with the track, and well done to just Arkina. And bang. And well done for the majority of the drivers coming to the end. Jogma coming across the line in 4th place, Jensen in 4th after leading for the first half of this race. To 1 unserved stop-go, 1 misplaced stop, 1 misserved stop-go, and 1 properly served stop-go. Puts him out of the podium in 4th. Lapare in 5th place. Christian Fablim doing donuts to commemorate his win. Well done to Fablim. But that will be the end of round 3 here at IFWL for the Multiclass Championship. We appreciate you watching wherever you are. Pity the wet sim payoff. Yeah, extremely unlucky. All good. But yeah, my name's been Jarvis Coid, and hopefully we'll see you next week for round 4. Have a good rest of your day and goodbye.